the order of returns risk, or risk of sequential returns. As you know, the markets can go up and they can go down. What matters to you when saving for your retirement is the average return of your investments over a period of years. But the day you retire and start taking money out of a portfolio, all the rules change, and average returns are no longer important. Now, this probably goes against what most retirees think. I mean, it certainly goes against what you've experienced, because for your whole life, you've been a saver and investor. You've grown used to checking the average returns on your IRA, your 401k, your stocks, and your bonds. I mean, heck, if you can get 3%, it's better than 1. And if you can get 5%, it's better than 3. So we grow up our whole lives thinking that average returns are what really matter. Let's use an example to illustrate this risk. The year was 1973 and Jim had $100,000. He invested 50% stock, 50% bonds. For the next 22 years, he averaged 10.1% a year for 22 years. And his $100,000 grew to approximately $846,000. And it doesn't matter if we ran the numbers backwards from 1995 to 1973. Why? Because he still averaged 10.1% a year for 22 years, and he still wound up with a boatload of money, regardless of the sequence of his yearly returns. Now, that's the way some people think the world works, but it does not work that way the day you retire. Consider Bill, who also had $100,000 in 1973. Just like Jim, he invested it 50% stock, 50% bonds. He also averaged 10.1% a year for 22 years. But Bill retired in 1973 and needed income. So his broker told him he could take out 5% per year. Well, with an average return of nearly twice that, both Bill and the advisor figured everything would be fine. The result? He's dead broke. Now you're probably wondering, how can you average 10.1% a year for 22 years, only take out 5 and go broke? Well, the short answer is average returns don't matter as much as the sequence or the order of those returns over the years. See, the day you retire, there's really only one thing that matters, and that's the order of those returns. Take a look at this chart. This is also going to be against everything you've always been taught. I think most financial professionals were taught that the older you are, the more conservatively you should invest. For example, that an 80-year-old should invest more conservatively than a 60-year-old, and a 60-year-old should invest more conservatively than a 40-year-old. That's what I was taught. But that's not what this chart shows. Both of these portfolios have identical average returns. What's the only difference? Well, the dark line shows the portfolio that lost money early in retirement, and you can see it devastated their retirement. The lighter line shows a portfolio that lost money later in life. It had much less of an impact. The order of returns risk is greatest in those years right before and right after you retire. See, big market declines like we saw in 2008, 2009 that occur during this time frame could be devastating to your retirement savings and future income. As I said, many professionals believe that the older you are, the more conservative your investment should be. But in reality, the years right before and right after the beginning of your retirement matter far more than those later years. So if you ask me, Tom, when is the riskiest, most critical time for a retiree when they really should not mess anything up? If you want to pick a time in your life where you don't want to lose money, that'd be those 5 or 6 years right before and the 5 or 6 years right after retirement.